You know this table. You know what are the empirical questions, you know what are the constructs, and now it's time to go to the field. Of course, before you go to the field, you need to design, think upfront about how to go to the field, how to approach the monkey. And here we call it modes of inquiry because we love complex words in the methodology. It just means how to approach monkey, just to put it simple. And there are 4 different modes of inquiry. There are 4 ways that you can approach your monkey to understand it. The first one is called touching. You just have 100 monkeys and you tap on their heads, touching. You send a questionnaire to 200 managers and you ask a few questions about whatever. You get a database of companies and the amount of money that they invested in certain things. The second mode of inquiry is called following. You chase after your monkey over time. You observe the behavior of the participants on an open source platform over time. You examine the evolution of a post-implementation project. You study how an enterprise architecture alignment or whatever happens. You send your questionnaire to the same group of participants now, after 1 week, after 1 month, and after a few months to see how their perception, understanding, skills, whatever, are changing. It's called following them. The third mode of inquiry, it's called digging. You deep dive into the details, interpretations, incentives, motivations, background, history, relations, everything about that. In the digging, you are a detective. You want to know everything about that particular case. Deep dive into the details. And there is a last one, which seems a little bit strange, but that's very important, especially for lecture 7. And for those who are after doing a practical gap type of research, prescriptive, and that's called shaking. If I have this little piece of box, I can just touch it. I can follow it over time. I can sort of, dig into the different aspects, but I can't get how soft or how hard it is unless I try to shake it, change it. You see? Play with it. I'm literally doing that. The premise is that we understand things by trying to change them. How do you deeply understand your potential partner in difficult moments that you or the situation is shaking that person? So shaking is a very important mode of approaching your monkey. You kick the ass of your monkey to see how it behaves, basically, just to put it that way. So are these 4 different types of approaching the monkey clear? Do they make sense? Because each of them relates to a very different way of collecting your data, a very different way of approaching your cases. For each, you require different type of data. Some of them can be combined. Some of them are difficult to be combined. Some of them are more suitable for quantitative research. Some of them are more suitable for qualitative research. Some of these modes are actually agnostic. Doesn't matter qual or quant, they can be equally relevant. Let's look at one example and see which mode of inquiry from these four seems to be mostly relevant here. Again, it's another interesting one, well elaborated. The author has thought about many questions, many aspects, many good things. Now we want to know what is the mode of inquiry here. Touching is not deep enough. And that's the difference between touching and digging, basically. So basically, you can't combine touching and digging. Doesn't make sense unless you do first a touching and then dig into a few of the cases. That's a different thing. But then following can be combined with touching when you do time series analysis, for instance, quantitative. Your data is longitudinal quantitative data. And then you do, for instance, analysis on the evolution of things based on a large sample. Following can be also combined with the digging, which is a typical but not the only way of doing qualitative research. But remember, when you say following, you should really mean it. Say what is the thing that you want to follow, how you want to follow it, for which period. Do you just want to follow all the monkeys or for a certain period? In your case, do you want to know how the sensitivity of the citizens or their perception about sensitivity or their reaction to these sensitive technologies changes over time as a result of a new regulation? So depending on what exactly you want to follow, your design would be different. Yes, you can deep, and then when you follow deeply. You understand many things, you understand things about different aspects, you deep dive, you understand holistically. Yes, absolutely. That's a very common way to do. But you can also only dig without doing the following. We will talk about this a bit later in the different design choices.